You're a mum, you're a mum, you're a busy mum. Come listen to the Busy Mum podcast. Life hacks and inspiration for the busy modern mum.
In this episode of the Busy Mum podcast, I speak with Jenny de Lacy of The Visibility Coach. Jenny is a solo parent to 3 handsome young men and does a fantastic job at it. She is running her own business, which teaches business owners how to use video effectively in their business. And most Friday nights, you'll find her spending time with her sons watching movies. Let's dive in. So, Jenny, welcome to the Busy Mum podcast. How are you this morning? This afternoon?
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you for having me.
No worries. We've had a few technical difficulties, but we've overcome them, and now we've got picture perfect quality on Skype, and hopefully the audio will be fantastic as well. So, Jenny, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I live in sunny Melbourne. I am a solo parent of 3 teenage boys. My eldest is almost 19. My youngest is 14 and a half. I run a business, so I teach other businesses to use video, and I do that through workshops and through one-on-one intensives and stuff like that. So I've been working for myself for many years in different with different hats on. As you can imagine, you kind of chop and change a little bit and evolve and all that sort of stuff. I'm sort of looking forward to this afternoon because actually I'm not going to work for the rest of the day, so that's cool.
So this is like the last little bit of work, and then you've got free time.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Solo mum to 3 boys for starters. Like, I've only got 2 girls. Boys are so much different to girls, obviously more active. How did you do it?
It's really this is a very interesting question, and actually, when people say, "Oh, I don't know how you cope," and I think that just like anybody, you kind of just have to. You don't really have.
Don't get a choice, really.
You don't really get to choose. But also, I think in lots of ways, I didn't actually do it all because I stopped working in corporate contracts 4 years ago, and that was when my eldest was at his absolute most hideous, to be honest. And I needed to stop working because I just honestly couldn't cope with the 3 of them at 14, 11 and 10 and work full-time hours in corporate. And even though I was earning lots of really, really lovely, juicy money, it was actually disgusting. The experience was terrible. The kids were terrible. I was terrible. And so when people say, I don't know how you do it, I kind of go, well, I kind of didn't. Sometimes you do just have to surrender a little bit and go, you know what, there's got to be a different way to manage kids and use my skills or expertise or however that ends up looking.
Yeah, well, I mean, at any age, kids really need that parental figure to guide them and give them the boundaries. And unfortunately, we can't just, expect other people to give the same morals and ethics lessons to our children. We have to do it ourselves, which is very painful. I think at times my eldest daughter is challenging as well, and she will just keep challenging you all the time. So, and it really does my head in. About 8 o'clock every night, I'm tapping out of this motherhood thing. I need some brain space. And luckily when Ben's here, he kind of takes over and we'll just lie in bed with them and just read them stories or talk to them about their day. So I think from that aspect, I don't know how you do it still.
Yeah, the buffer. It's about when you don't have a buffer, even when dads aren't particularly practical. They may not do all the practical stuff, but sometimes just having a buffer of someone to vent to and say, can you please answer that question? Because I've answered it 500,000 million times today and I'm really, really going to lose my shit and I don't want to, so can you do it? I really have missed having that. So I suppose my kids have heard me lose my shit a lot, but not.
Do you have
maybe
techniques,
not when they were really little?
Though?
Not when they were little.
Do you have techniques to get over that? How are you managing that?
Sometimes I think they really do need to see the beast. I do actually think that sometimes it works. And one of my favourite stories, it's quite recent. It was only a year ago, and I was really sick. I had the flu, and I was getting up at about 5:30, driving number one son to his new apprenticeship in the middle of Wonga Park where there was no public transport, coming home and going straight back to bed because I was so sick. And I got to the end of that 2 weeks of the school holiday. So I had it during the school holiday, September last year. And I felt guilty about them not doing stuff. And then I was just like, well, what are you going to do anyway? Because you're sick, go back to bed. And then on the Friday, the last Friday, I actually did a job in the city. I went in and I worked all day and I came home and I was so sick and it was just the most disgusting. I got home and there was crap everywhere. They had basically had friends over during the day. There was just, oh my God, I can't explain it. I was absolutely off my face. I was so angry. And I sort of flung like Frisbee like a pizza box and it's sort of vaguely smacked Ollie in the stomach or something. And then I said something else and then I swore under my breath and then the eldest came out and said he decided to stop his apprenticeship. Oh. And I actually lost my voice. I was going like this. I was doing this. And he said to me, I actually think you need to have a lie down. And I was like, you don't ever say that to somebody who's losing their nanas. That's just not good. And so I threw some groceries on the bench and I left the house and I went to my friend's house till about midnight and I came back and they'd fed themselves. Like they know how to cook and everything. So they'd fed themselves and the lollies that I'd bought because they were having a friend over were on my bed. So I think they were too scared to actually eat the lollies because they weren't sure. They weren't sure if they were for me. I was like, okay, my work here is done. So sometimes I think you do actually have to lose it and say, you know what, you guys have been sitting around watching movies all day long and you haven't even bothered.
You haven't helped me.
Not even a little bit. That's not fair.
I'm not your slave. That's what comes out of my mouth a lot is like, I am not your slave. You know, I've made your lunches, I've done the dishes and like I've cleaned up that area and then I come into the lounge room and you've messed it up. Like I'm not your slave. Come on.
Do you reckon they even know what that means? Like
I think when they have kids,
have arms and you have legs, so you actually can walk to the kitchen and put that in the bin. Like the coffee table isn't the bin. I'm not quite sure what you're missing about that picture. But I've often said, oh, that's not my problem. Where's my so-and-so? I don't know. I don't wear it.
It's your. I always go. It's your responsibility. I'm not chasing around your iPod and putting it in places and hiding it. You know, I'm not doing that.
Where's my favourite T-shirt? I don't know, mate. I don't wear it. So I don't know how I would be supposed to know where it was. I think I put it in the wash. Well, then you know where to go and look.
Yeah, exactly.
So
let's just bounce back to your business. We can talk about this all day long and it'll be like 3 hour long podcast, which would be great. But let's just bounce back to your visibility coaching. Just explain to me more about what that actually is and how did you get into that from your corporate life?
So I have a 25-year career in learning and development in corporate world and a master's in education and training. And so I've worked with audiences and crafting messages for audiences for many years. I've written hundreds and hundreds of programs and delivered to thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And when I left that corporate career, my first instinct was to retreat and just do a bit of quiet work because I really didn't want to be with anybody. I was really struggling with the kids and I didn't want to be with other adults either. And so I decided I would use my writing skills and be a copywriter. And I learnt so much. That's where I found Kate Toon. That's where I found that whole community. I did SEO copywriting. I did a course with Kate, et cetera, et cetera. But not even 18 months later, I realised how much I missed being with people because that's really where my skills lie. And I realised that I'd used video a few times in my marketing and I found it really easy. I found it easy to craft what messages I wanted to say. I found it easy to be conversational, blah, 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 which is obviously presentation skills just naturally because that's what I've done for a living. But I was able to kind of systemise it a little bit and I started to teach other people to do it. And this was before Facebook Live. And people said, oh, no, it's not that easy. And I'm like, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is, you know. 10 times the amount of people seeing that stuff that saw stuff before that. So why wouldn't you do it? It's free, basically. Use your phone, use some, you know, whatever. And that sort of morphed into working mostly with female entrepreneurs because I happened to be in that space and I needed the nurture of that group of people. And that's something that I've realised lately is that I really wanted to be with women and hang out where I felt
comfortable.
Really nurtured and really looked after and that people had my back. And so that's sort of where the visibility coach came from was really about saying to women in particular, step into your expertise. What is it that you stand for? Get yourself on video. Yes, use Facebook Live or Insta Stories or whatever, which is a smaller portion, but where can you nurture your clients, attract clients, lead generation, all the things, client onboarding, all the stuff that we do in our businesses video enhances, but there was that lack of confidence. So a lot of it was about confidence building, the visibility coach, but actually it's morphed into, it may not be even the right thing to call myself anymore, because a lot of the clients I'm working with now, you know, they're not unconfident, they just don't have a system or a strategy in place. And so that's what I'm doing with most of my clients at the moment.
Okay, and how are you finding these clients? Are they finding you, or are you actively advertising, or are you doing these Facebook Lives and Instagram stories to get them?
The Facebook Live is a really good way to let people know what you're doing and what you're available to do and how to find you and all that sort of stuff. But you have to be so much more proactive than that. And because I call it residual exhaustion from raising kids, that actually a lot of the time I'm really lazy. I don't really want to do anything. I'd quite like to just be in my pajamas and my Ugg boots. And I realise that's not actually good enough. You can't wait for people to come to you. That's not how it works. You do have to be
a little bit proactive,
yeah, and strategic about where are you spending your time. And so in the last probably 2 or 3 months, I've been very, very active in local business groups of all sorts of small businesses where they all need video. None of them know what they're doing.
It's probably the next big thing, video, you know.
It's sort of already there for a lot of us because we already know it because we're online all the time.
Yeah.
But a lot of bricks and mortar businesses and real life people just don't get it. They honestly are that unaware.
Yeah.
And that's really where my clients have come from. And that's from me just getting out there and ringing people, actually. Ringing, talking, getting back in touch with old customers and leads. And, yeah, it's hard. It's
yes, being an entrepreneur and a businesswoman is hard work, and it's a grind. And it takes years really to build it all. Really?
Yeah. When you look at the people that are doing really well, it does. It takes several years to build.
Yeah. Look at Kate Toon. She's been doing it 10 years. 10 years it's taken her to get to where she is now. So you can't look at her and expect, my business should be at that level when you've only been doing it, say, for 4 months or something. Yeah,
that's exactly right. And setting those expectations for ourselves is really important because we're so self-critical.
We've become the instant generation as well. Everything on demand. You know, you can choose what you want to do. So, like, you want it yesterday. Like, you don't have to even save for things now because everything's on credit, you know. So all that kind of stuff, it's kind of trained us to expect that it will actually happen straight away, and it doesn't.
Yeah, and that people are going to see you and find you, and that's just not true. You actually, it does take a lot of time to have any kind of profile online, let alone a good website that generates sort of, SEO results plus real life, networking and so on.
Yeah, exactly. So just describe to us a day in the life of Jenny.
I am so blessed now, and I'm very grateful for this, that my kids do not need me. I have not made a school lunch since they were in about grades 5 or 6 because I used to say, you know what, it's already there. Yeah. There might have been some pre-made sandwiches or something, but actually you can put a piece of fruit, a cigar and a sandwich in a bloody box. You don't need me to do. So I actually have the only thing I take responsibility for really is getting them to school if I have to, or finding, the lost uniform or whatever. Yeah. But that doesn't happen very often anymore. So for me, I wake up usually a little bit early and I just sort of check socials, particularly I'll check Twitter and just have a little poke around what's going on online. Sometimes I respond and engage, but a lot of the time I'm just checking it out while I wake up. I know that's not the ideal start to the day.
I think everyone does that.
I wish I could say I wake up and I meditate and I do like stretching and yoga.
But then I know you'd be lying.
I so wish I could say I meditate and I journal, right? I journal my intentions for the day. No, I don't. I used to. It actually worked. I should do it again. But usually then I might, as an example, next week I'm running a challenge, so I'll be online live at 9 a.m. to get them all fired up to do what they have to do for that day. I just give everybody just one activity to do, and then I will be doing content creation on Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursdays is I go to a co-working space in across the road from me here in Ringwood, and I follow up leads. I
Do you
ring
network
people
there too? Like, is there quite a few different like lady businesses in there as well? So like, it's just another social hit. Like, I've been talking a lot about social
it's
hits
interesting.
lately.
No, it's not. It's it's if I was working, if let's say I planned a co-working day with people that are in my Facebook group, that would be a social hit, and I would really get I'd get extra, intrinsic sort of love and affection out of that. But the co-working space, I swear to God, they have just got their heads down, their bums up, and they're not entrepreneurs. They're actually, a lot of teams are working in there at the moment.
Oh, okay.
So it's very serious, right? So
Not very serious.
I wanted to be like a real fair income business person, so I moved out of my home office and I'm over the road. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is sort of when the real stuff happens. I would have client meetings those days. I would probably, if I was running a workshop, I would run them on one of those days. And then Friday, I have actually committed to a B&I, which I think people find a little frightening and a bit cultish.
But
actually,
it is.
I am forcing myself out of my comfort zone and into, these are real business people.
Early in the
morning.
have
deep relationships.
Yeah.
And it's so early, it's hideous. Yeah. That's when I would do one-on-ones and try and make appointments with people to get to know them, rather than I'm not selling to anyone or pitching, or I'm just getting to know people. That's what I try and do on a Friday, because it's a bit more sociable and a bit more relaxed.
Yeah, everyone's ready to head into the socialness of the day, of the weekend.
But, kids are home by 3:30. Two of them, they have bloody half periods. They're home at 1:30. Some, I'm like, what are you doing? How come you're here? I have a half day on Wednesday. Oh God. And so then it's all about shopping and food and feeding everybody and all that sort of stuff. So I'm still really available to them after school hours. I don't tend to work.
Yeah.
Grown-up hours, no.
No, I don't work grown-up hours either. I work a lot, but I couldn't. Like, my typical day is crazy as well. It's like you work a little bit and then you do school drop-off, then you work a little bit more, then you do school pick-up, then some shopping, and then you work a little bit more while they're having a bath and cooking dinner and all of that. So it's all, there's work and life all mashed together when you're a mum and an entrepreneur. What's the best advice you've received, Jenny?
I remember when things were really grim after my divorce and how hard I was finding it with my kids, and they weren't having sleepovers anywhere. I have no family. I had no out. It was just honestly me and them 24/7. It was really exhausting and really hard. And I remember one of my really good friends saying to me, sometimes it's okay to reduce your expectations of what you are actually capable of doing in a day. And some days it's okay to just go, as long as they get to school and there's food on the table,
it's okay.
Honestly, that's got to be enough sometimes. And so giving ourselves permission, and I've done it recently with junior football because I actually hate it. And I've been able to admit that out loud this year, saying, you know what, I've been in this bloody thing for 11 years. I've been watching this crap. I don't want to watch anymore. I'll get you there, I'll get you home, but don't expect me to watch anymore. I'm actually done, because I've done all the Harry Potter and the Star Wars 50 million freaking times, and all the superheroes, all the other Lego, all that stuff was always me. And so the advice was really, it's okay to not be the one that does all the things. Yeah. There's no value in killing yourself trying to be what you think is the perfect mother, because actually that's not perfect. It's better to be available to them in other ways and actually not do all the things that someone else could do or that you don't want to do. It's hard to, does that make sense?
It does to me. It's like the women that have a lot of time on their hands can be perfect in that way, but they might not be perfect in other ways. Like, let's get rid of the word perfect, because perfect doesn't exist. It's progression, not perfection. In my mind anyway. But I tried to make a doll cake for my daughter's 6th birthday, and this thing was like a saga. Like I did it the week before to test it out, then I did it the week of, and I thought, you know what, next time I'm just going to spend the $60 bloody and buy a cake from the Cupcake Factory, because I'm not a professional cake baker, which I tried to be, and it was just a disaster. Well, she was happy, but I was like stressed out of my brain. I'm like, why am I putting myself through so much pressure to do this?
And then we don't enjoy the time with them. And part of having birthday parties is that it's a celebration of the fact that we've made it this far with a kid this age, whatever that is.
Yeah, and we haven't killed them.
Yeah, they haven't been in the wheelie bin or gone to human services or whatever. But I just think the parents that I've seen, and it's nearly always mums, there's almost some kind of self-righteousness in pushing themselves so far that they're exhausted and they're always grumpy.
Yeah.
And I said, I would rather say, you know how much I hate junior football? I'm not watching anymore. I'm actually saying to you, I love you so
I'm
much.
out.
I'm going to get you there. But then I'm happier when I pick them up from footy. They still get to, go to footy training and all the family nights, all this sort of crap. But I'm like, pushing myself to do, I'm going to be happier when you get home, and then we get to watch a movie that we love together, or we talk about other stuff, and so there's no, I'm not one of those
No, that's
martyr
good on you. Good
people.
on you. Like, I hate junior football too. Like, I kind of hate watching any sport, to be honest with you, unless I'm actually in, the sporting precinct and like there's a bazillion people around me and there's fireworks going off. I'll do that, but on the telly, get lost.
I think, but giving ourselves permission to not be the baker, to not be the one that throws the perfect birthday party. That was good advice that friend gave me, that your expectations don't have to be so high, because you're actually killing yourself with not achieving what,
You'll end up depressed. Completely.
Yeah, that's right. It was, and she was absolutely right. So I've employed that a little bit more lately too, because as you know, they go through changes. As kids get older, their needs change, and you go through that whole process again.
Yeah, exactly.
Of learning. What the hell? Why can't you all be exactly the same?
Yeah, I know. And how are you, like, learning how to deal with these changes? Are you reading any books or anything like that to help you along the way, or you just Google it?
No. Yeah, I think there's a couple of times where I looked up how to have conversations about illicit drugs with my eldest son. So I had one of these horrendous moments. He went to his year 10 formal, and he said, we're going to so-and-so's house beforehand. He was 16, for God's sake, just 16. Yeah. And I dropped him there at 5:30, 6 o'clock, whatever, went home. The other two and I got in my bed and put the TV on to watch a movie. I can't even remember why we were watching TV in my room. It was sort of like a holiday.
Why not?
I don't know. Weird, because it was a Thursday night. Anyway, and I got a call at 20 to 8 to say that Hunter was passed out in the toilets at the venue, and he was so drunk that they couldn't wake him up. I said, call an ambulance, man. If you can't wake him up, you ring an ambulance right now. I'm 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it'll be okay. I said, no.
No, ring an ambulance.
So all of a sudden I had to deal with this thing. I was not expecting to have to deal with him drinking. I don't know why, but I just hadn't even crossed my mind. I didn't drink at 16 maybe. I don't know.
At my 16th birthday party, I drank a lot of Midori, and because it tastes like lollies.
Yeah.
And I was probably as sick as your son.
Oh, it was just... And he told me he loved me a lot, which I found hilarious.
You should record that and go, see, you do love me. I know you do.
And so I had to have a conversation, and I asked some of my friends' husbands and said, when you were this age, were you drinking? And they all said yes, actually. And, what do you think my advice should be? So I was sort of asking, I suppose, trusted dads, who I think are pretty good guys, rather than Googling stuff. But the drug thing was interesting. I did sort of have to look some stuff up and think about how do I have a conversation with him about, because I know his personality.
Yeah, and you got to talk to that, don't you? You got to go, like, if they're a scientific, like, they need facts and figures, speak to them in that way. If they're more of an emotional person, speak to them in the way of how it will affect them and their emotion and how it affects the people around them.
Yeah, and they're all different. So,
exactly.
It's being able to say, well, they're all going to need it that message slightly differently.
Yeah, I think it's understanding
which is exhausting.
that. Yeah, no, I think that's the key, is to know your child's personality and how to deliver that message so they hear it.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I've obviously read Steve Biddulph's Raising Boys or whatever millions of years ago when the kids were small, and it's still very relevant now. And raising them to be good men and talking about asking for consent and do they understand what consent is, and they're always uncomfortable. But I'm like,
but you got to do it. You got to have the conversation.
I'm saying it to you anyway. You know.
Yeah. They might go bright red in the face and go, Mom. It's like, but if I don't tell you this, you're going to find it from some other path which might not be the same values that I have, and I want you to know.
Yeah, and you're going to be told lies by people who do know the answer, that are the same age as you, but they lie to kids a lot of the time. You know how you used to have somebody say, oh, you know, you could get pregnant from kissing or whatever. Back that if you don't know the facts, I don't care how uncomfortable you are, I want you to know so that you are aware and you're not one of those kids who believes lies about stuff.
Or stupid things. Stupid things. So you mentioned like having food on the table. What are your go-to recipes?
I love my youngest said, when I move out of home, he's the only one who talks about it moving out of home, by the way, much to my distress. He says, I'm going to eat pasta every night. I said, that's awesome. Let's get cracking. So he knows how to make, he's pesto, really easy. Oh. Bolognese, easy peasy. Lasagna is my favourite. But what's really funny is a while ago, I can't remember what I was doing, but I was running a lot of workshops, I think, and I was flat out. And there is this, you can make it the long way or you can make it the easy way, and it's just a pasta bake, but you can do it with bought, white sauce and bought bolognese, or you can actually make the ingredients yourself. Either way, it's awesome. Yeah. But if you do it with the bought stuff, I swear it takes 10 minutes to get in the oven, and it feeds everybody the next day for work because one of mine's working now. Yeah. But, they're the sorts of things, and just like most families, tacos, nachos, burgers, all the stuff that's easy for me to teach them to cook, so they cook that stuff themselves.
Oh, that's so good. Like, I love talking to you because it's like a little bit looking into the future. Yeah. Like when kids can actually do stuff for themselves, and having to go through that process of teaching them how to do it. And it's really good that you actually get there in the end.
Yeah. And they all have varying degrees of giving a shit about it or wanting to do it. Like my youngest is definitely more interested in cooking than the other two. But, they all have to feed themselves. I refuse to be stuck to the kitchen anymore when I know they're quite capable. Yeah. They're just being lazy, aren't they? If the food's all there and I'm out, I'm somewhere, why
they'll do
it
then.
Yeah, of course they do. Yeah. They get home and they're all fed, so they know how to do it.
So what one area in your life would you like to improve?
For me personally, it would be my health, I think. So I've always been quite fit. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden I'm not exercising.
I don't know what happened.
All of a sudden I'm not exercising anymore. I've put on loads of weight in the last 2 years. It's really interesting. When people go, you do what you're meant to do in your business and you won't work a day in your life and it'll be, or you'll feel like you're in flow. Shut up. That's not true, actually, because I definitely know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but actually a lot of other stuff hasn't worked as a result for some reason.
There's always a compromise.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I think there is, and again, I'll refer to Kate Toon because she said she doubled her income over the last year, but it came at a cost. Like, you got to give up something to get something else, And I always say to my husband, you can have everything you want in life, just not when you want it. Just not when you want it.
And that's very wise, Jackee, very wise.
Wow. I'm actually 60.
I'm going to remember that, Yoda. That's great. You're right, and I think that changing my business focus slightly, so my online sales funnel, if you like, is sort of free how to create video training, and some people come and do a video marketing academy, and I love doing challenges and stuff like that, and that's lovely. But really the real money is with real life bricks and mortar businesses who are, struggling to onboard new clients. It's taking them 10 hours and I come in and say, you need a video there and there. And, they win back 8 hours per client or something like that. That's where the money is. So what I'm thinking of is if that's true and I just get 2 of those clients a month, I can actually get a personal trainer and really start focusing on what do I need at nearly 51 years of age that I didn't need, before. And I think that
you know what it is?
Yeah, that's the compromise.
Okay, what it is the 80-20 rule. I can't remember the fancy name. My husband said, it's such and such theory. And I'm like,
Pareto principle. Yeah.
there you go. You're fancy too. So the 80-20 rule. So it's 80% food, 20% exercise. That's all it is. And if you get your food right, and like you might have to cut out carbs and just go like good fats and salad, or good fats and veggies and of this protein, but you might have to cut out carbs. But then you might get really angry because you love bread and you love you love pasta. So like, is it really worth the sacrifice?
Yeah.
You know?
What cost? Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the cost?
Are you willing to pay to get to where you want to be?
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, do you have any daily hacks to make your life run smoother?
Because in the last, again, this is my obviously I got my mojo back and woke up a little bit in the last 6 months because the kids are that bit older. And I thought, I know myself really well. I am wildly haphazard and I am a rampant extrovert. As a haphazard human being that has very little discipline a lot of the time, what do I have to put in place to make sure my business and my life can continue to run despite my lack of ability to do that for myself? And it has to be automation, right? It has to be that there has to be parts of my day and in my business and in my life that are automated in some way so that it doesn't rely on me remembering to do everything. Because even if I put reminders in my phone, they do not work, right?
Yeah.
So I started doing online shopping, easy peasy.
Yeah.
Don't have to go to the supermarket all the time, save myself 7 hours a week, whatever.
Yeah.
But also in my business, automating as much as possible. So finding the right apps that tick along and just focusing on Trello, just something really simple like that. Anything that pops in my head, it goes into a Trello board because I lose it otherwise, you know.
Yeah.
So that's probably the thing that changed the most for me was finding one place to put all the things I need to do. Stop writing them down in 3 million different places.
That's what I do. I write it on a bit of paper and then I put it in my bag and then a Post-it note, put that in my bag. With all these bits of paper, like, I don't know.
Same. Yeah, I'm exactly the same. And so I thought from now on it's just going to, on trial, if it's not in a Trello board, it does not get done.
Interesting.
And it's been really interesting. It has worked.
Okay, well, that's great. Great info. Okay, we've got quick questions and then I'll let you get on with your relaxation day.
Cool.
Okay, so quick question number 1. Have you signed up to any websites recently that you actually find value in receiving their information?
Again, I have to say, Kate, she's going to get sick of... No, she won't get sick of us talking about it, but Kate recently started a membership group for her Recipe for SEO Success graduates, and I signed up to it, and it's fantastic. Fantastic. So I love her. Free newsletter is still really awesome. There's always really good content in there. And so I very rarely read emails anymore. But, yeah, I nearly always open hers. I think that sort of says something, doesn't it?
Well, I think also you've met her, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's coming from an actual human that you've met as well. I think that does play a little part. What's one piece of advice you would give your pre-baby self?
I thought about, when you sent some questions to have a look at the other day, I thought if any of them was going to make me emotional, it would be this one, right?
Oh, so please don't cry. No crying.
I promise I won't, because I actually thought, well, just don't answer it really properly, because otherwise I probably will. But one of the things that over the years you get criticised, everyone's got an opinion about how to be a parent, absolutely everybody. And I've been criticised a lot, even in my own family as a single parent, because of, I don't know, being sweary sometimes or telling them the truth. If they ask me, I'll tell them. Like, I don't want to lie to my kids about different, bits and pieces. But if I'd said to my pre-baby self, I would have said, firstly, you get to choose how many kids you have, and you need to be actively part of that process and not just let somebody else tell you that you have to have more kids. But also that your instincts are usually pretty awesome.
Gut feeling, go with it, right?
You get to know your kids, you trial and error, and you pay attention to what works and what doesn't, and you stick to your those instincts. Because I look at my boys now, and they are pretty fabulous, and I'm pretty proud of the parenting job I did. But I was not able to say about myself that I was a good parent until probably last year. And that's ridiculous. You know, that's really sad.
You should say that every day to yourself.
Yeah,
every day. That should be your mantra. I'm a good parent.
You know,
I'm a good parent.
I'm a patient, loving mummy. I used to say to myself every morning while I was trying to grit my teeth to, I'm a patient, loving mummy. Ooh, you know. So I'd say that to my pre-baby self that, you know, trust your instincts and just soldier on.
Soldier on. Everything works out in the end, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the last question, I need my glasses on. What is the most useful or useless baby item you have?
Oh, back in the day, that baby Bjorn, I don't know what we did without those things. They are awesome, the baby carriers, where they've got a different name now and there's a different style of them. They're a bit more organic than than they used to be. But I don't know what I would have done without that thing, because I had, you know, unsleeping babies. I had refluxy babies. So, that was the most fantastic. I would always recommend buying that for a new mum, always.
Yeah, we had one of them. It was so hard to actually put on as well.
Well, the new ones aren't so much, I don't think. I think there's
you've got variety and choice now.
Yeah, that's right.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Jenny. It's been a pleasure to have a discussion with you today.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Busy Mum podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. You can follow me on my Instagram account, thebusymum_podcast, or on Facebook, which is The Busy Mum AU, or subscribe to my iTunes account, which is also The Busy Mum Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Australia's newest ladies' leg shaving brand Pins. Perfect pins, pits and private bits don't have to be neglected this winter. Maintain your hair and enjoy soft, smooth skin. Check out the website today, www.pins.com.au.